Good evening, and welcome to another episode of Reclaiming My Life podcast. I'm your host for tonight, Dr. Tiffany Tyson. Tonight, not only are we going to talk about Breast Cancer Awareness Month, but it's also health literacy. What does health literacy mean? An individual understanding their information. For example, what do their numbers mean? What do their lab tests mean? Why do you have this particular procedure that you have done? And then when you understand what the why, you can ask questions or also make informed decisions. There's also organizational health literacy, which means the organization that you choose to have your services done provide equal and equitable services regardless of your race, gender, nationality, or your gender identity. So tonight, before we bring on our special guests, I want to introduce our authors. The beautiful visionary author, Miss Claudia Massey.
Good evening. Thank you all so much for tuning in once again to Reclaiming My Life podcast.
Co-author, the lovely Miss Tramika Cooper.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us on Reclaiming My Life podcast.
The phenomenal co-author, Miss Joanne Bellamy.
Thank you, everybody, and thank you for joining us on Reclaiming Our Lives.
And tonight, our very special guest is a 3-year breast cancer survivor. She's also a breast cancer awareness advocate. She is a retired Halifax County School Systems educator and the former mayor of Enfield, North Carolina, the gorgeous Miss Barbara Simmons.
Oh my, oh my. Good evening, good afternoon, everyone. Or evening.
How are you? Thank you so much for
I'm-
joining us tonight.
Thank you all for letting me join. Thank you so much, Dr. Tyson,
You
and
are
your,
so
your
welcome.
co-authors and your audience and whomever may be there. I am so happy to be back with you again.
Thank
Still
you.
reclaiming my life. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
thank you. You and I met about 2.5 years ago, I think it's
Yeah.
been. We were interviewing you about your breast cancer diagnosis, and I wanted to bring you on tonight to share your story because it's so important because you were an advocate for yourself.
Yeah.
And, you know, our statistics still show that African American women still have a high mortality rate compared to our Caucasian counterparts. And so I think it's so important to hear your story tonight and how you not only advocated for your services, but for yourself. And you also were able to help identify your own diagnoses. And so I just want you to share with the audience a little bit about yourself and about your story.
Okay, thank you. Which would take me more than 2 minutes. But since you've given me a little brief introduction, I'm going to kind of skip over. I am a retired educator um, for 31 years and married, mother of 4 children, lost one son, so I have three. But just briefly to tell you, as I just spoke a couple of Sundays ago, it seemed to me, and I'm sure there are others, because believe it or not, I saw something on TV this morning. Lady kind of had my same story. But I thought mine was so hard. This was about a 6 month ordeal with me. Had my mammogram in November of 2019. Everything came back fine. Discovered a little pimple or something on my left breast. So I would call my doctor and she made an appointment and she said, don't worry about it. It's just probably a little scar tissue or something like that, but we'll keep an eye on it. And I'm kind of saying to myself, yeah, I sure will keep an eye on it. And I did. And it began to grow. It was just something, nothing but the good Lord that made me discover it. But anyway, I called her back and told her I needed to come back in, and I did. And she realized that it had grown some. So, what did she tell me then? She just said we was gonna still keep an eye on it. And then second time, I'm saying, come on now. I think I need to go out maybe to send me out to a specialist or something. So she sent me
Right.
over for an ultrasound. And the doctor that day came back in after the ultrasound and told me he was 99% sure that I was cancer free. And I'm like, okay, okay. But I just kept something in my mind was saying, you need to continue with this. And I did. Uh, went back to her again, being polite, went back again. And I guess she saw I was getting rather anxious about it. So she sent me back out. I told her I need a biopsy, something more than this, because there's
Yes.
something wrong with me. From that ultrasound, I even got a benign notice back, that no signs of cancer. And took the biopsy, and I that came back with the news. And my surgeon said, "Oh, I already had gotten myself together for that." Was Dr. Nelson, and she told me I should have been there 2 or 3 months ago,
Right.
earlier. But anyway, um, I end up with she prepared herself, I think, to tell me the good news and pull the bad news and pull a little chair up there to me, little stool. Are you okay, Miss Something? I said, I'm fine. She said, so I'm gonna have to be the bad person today. I said, no, you're not. You're gonna be fine. You're fine because I'm fine. God had already
Mhm.
showed me, told me. So she said, well, you do have cancer and it's triple negative. Not a good thing to tell you. What did I know about triple negative? All I've ever heard was breast cancer for women. But anyway, we saw, she said, I'm going on vacation next week. So I'll schedule you when I come back. And I said, do you have to? She said, well, what you want to do? Now I'm going next week. I said, I'm ready today. And we
Right.
laughed at on all. But long story short, she scheduled me for before she left, and I had surgery. And it was on the and gather me now. I'm talking about a 6 month span. This was like the last of May or 1st of June when this was discovered. And I don't know. It seemed like the rest was history. We had the surgery. Surgery went well. Matter of fact, I had 3 surgeries, and then I started on chemo. I had 16 sessions of chemo, 24 of radiation, and but it was just what I knew or what I felt in my heart that was happening had been brought to the light for me. So my husband told me
Exactly.
I had some bad nights and all, but I don't know about those. I probably was sleep talking in my sleep or crying in my sleep or whatever. But I never lost faith in all that. I'm gonna get through this. But that was the ordeal that I basically went through, like a 6 month span of really finding out that I had cancer.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
So
and I can be,
I know
yeah,
my co-authors are wanting to ask you some questions. So
okay,
we're going to hear from co-author Ms. Tramika Cooper.
okay, Miss Nika.
Good evening, Miss Simmons.
Good evening.
My question is, do you have any long-term side effects from your treatment, such as neuropathy? And if so, how does it affect your daily activities?
I just make it work, but I sure do. I have numbness. My fingers are still numb. My toes are still numb. We've talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
My oncologist doctor told me that I may just wake up one morning and everything be right back to normal. But
Mm-hmm.
going into my 3rd year, and it's still just, I can hold a piece of paper in my hand or something, and it drop right out, and I don't, not really realize that it had. Man, now that I'm used to that now. That's happening. But what I'm
Yes.
really finding is my memory seem like I don't want to claim it, but it just seemed like I'm short thinking now. I don't think I can be talking to you right now. Pray Lord, it won't
Right.
happen tonight. And I just almost get, oh, what was I saying to you now? What was I talking about? My
Right.
memories kind of leave me like that. So yes, I
Yes.
do have that. I sure do. Hmm. But
Thank
I'm
you.
dealing with it.
Yes, ma'am. You are.
Mhm.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Tramika. We will now hear from co-author Miss Joanne Bellamy.
Okay.
Hello, Miss Simmons.
Hello, Miss Bellamy.
How
Yeah,
how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm
Bless
doing great.
bless your heart. Miss Simmons, I want to ask you a question. My
Okay.
question is, who or what was your strongest or biggest supporter during your time that you went through this ordeal?
Okay. I probably need to have my door closed so my husband won't hear me, but he knows what I'm gonna say. And that's gonna be number one is the master above. God.
Amen.
God carried me through this. Number
Amen.
two, my husband, my children, three survivor children, and just church members, family, and friends. My oldest daughter has a classmate. They finished college together. She had cancer. My third year, so she had cancer about 4 years prior to me, and I call her my nurse, Nurse Paris. That girl just stood right by my side. Every Sunday we leave church, she would come by the house to check on me. See, I wasn't even going back to church then, so she would come by and check on me and all. I gotta say, I really had full support. The
Awesome.
Dr. Nelson you heard me speak of, she calls me her mom now. I mean, we just number just right off. We just tapped right on. I was upset with her when she retired, but I knew she had to go. Even the cancer center over there in Nash, Rocky Mountain, they were the most sweetest people. I guess they said you have been through enough, but they were just so sweet in cancer. I really have no complaints. Everybody was so sweet. The oldest daughter was the one nearest to me. She went with me to each of my chemo treatments and with her little goodie bag for me when I come out. They always had a
Awesome.
countdown bag for me. Just count this
Awesome.
number one, number two, count right down. My husband would drive me over there and then she would meet me there. But Miss Fassy, when it got to radiation, I wanted to try myself. I want to drive myself. That's just me. My mind always want to be top one. So I started driving. I think he went with my son, but I started driving myself, and she would still meet me over there and wait for me. She couldn't go in with radiation, but she stuck right by my side the whole time. On weekends, all of us were together. The other two was out of town, so we're all together. But
Yes,
number
ma'am.
one, God, and then my family, and like I say, church members, friends, and all just really bail right in. They just act like it wasn't. I wasn't supposed to have cancer, but I'm saying to myself, why not me? I'm only human, so why
Yes,
not?
ma'am.
And I accepted it that way.
Right.
Thank you so much, Miss Simmons. God bless you.
Thank you,
Yes. Thank you.
sweetheart.
Thank you,
Wonderful
ma'am.
question, Miss Joanne.
Yeah.
And
Well,
we will now hear from visionary author Miss Claudia Massey with her question.
okay.
Good evening, beautiful lady, Mrs. Simmons.
Well, good evening, and beautiful lady, back to you. How
Thank
are you?
you. I am
Yes.
so inspired by your testimony.
Oh, thank
Ye-
you.
yes, ma'am. You actually already answered the question that I had prepared for you. And that
Okay.
was your faith stronger than your fear? You answered that many times already during this
Yes.
conversation.
So I can
You
just
know,
simply say yes to you. Yes.
yes,
Never lost
ma'am.
my faith.
Yes, ma'am. And I'm so
Mm,
inspired. We're here on this platform, because the name of the book, Reclaiming My Life, this podcast, Reclaiming My Life, we're here to inspire, to empower, encourage, and
mhm.
motivate others to reclaim their
Yes.
lives. We're
Yes.
here to give hope, and you have definitely inspired, empowered, encouraged, and
Mm,
motivated. So thank you so much for joining us tonight,
you're
to
so
give other
welcome.
people hope that are actually going
Yes.
through tonight.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Okay.
Thank you for your question, Miss Claudia.
You're
Mm,
so welcome.
mm.
So, Miss Barbara, I heard you mention that you had spoke recently at a church, And so it sounds like you're continuing to do your work to talk to women and to, not only let them be aware of your story, but also how to advocate for yourself. So
Yeah.
if, for our viewing audience that may be listening tonight, what would you tell a woman or a man who
Yes.
is going to the doctor and the doctor says, hey, this, this is benign, but you knowing that you're feeling something different. What would you tell someone that's listening on tonight?
Know your body. Just be strong and know your body. I knew, and I believe you have to have faith in man as well as God. My faith is in God, but I feel that He is still in humans to do the things that He allowed them to be prepared to do. And I do understand maybe how detecting something maybe just wasn't there well enough for them to detect. But 6 months, I was really, it just really got to me. So now I was just saying, I did say it every time I speak to someone now. It was, I'll say women and men, because you all it can happen to you all as well.
Correct.
Don't give up. Know your body. So I knew my body, and I knew something was different about my body. I knew what she was calling scar tissues or whatever. Well, maybe, but you got to tell me a little more. If it's scar tissue, it's growing. So know your
Exactly.
body and keep faith and carry it through. Don't give up just because. Man, look, and I always tell this little story. I know time may be giving out, but my youngest daughter, she just tells me all the time, Mama, I'm just so proud of you because I probably would have been
Yeah,
dead and gone. I think I told that before.
you did. You
He
did.
said if the doctor had told me the first time it wasn't cancer, I never would have went back. And I'm like, Deshonda, don't you know your body, baby? She
Exactly.
said, I don't like doctors, and I just wouldn't have ever went back. I'm fearful of going to the doctor. So I would have taken that word and not went back. But that never crossed my mind. Never crossed my mind. So that's my thing. Keep the faith in God. Put
Mhm.
your trust in God, but know your body and be judged by your body. So don't give up when you think something is wrong. You just keep on until you work it out, and God gonna make it work for you. You put it in
Yes.
His hand, He'll make it work for you.
And I like the fact that you weren't afraid to ask questions. Sometimes when individuals come to the provider, I think they're a little hesitant to ask questions, but no question is a dumb question or a not important question. At the end of the day, and also I think it's important as well. Sometimes individuals are a little bit more hesitant if their provider doesn't look like them or they feel like cannot relate to them. And so I think it's important for individuals that are seeking care to be comfortable with the provider enough to be able to ask questions or to feel like, hey, this person's able to relate to me. And so we have a few more minutes, but in closing, I just want to say again, thank you for coming on the show tonight. And I also want to say, young men, young women, if you're out there, again, going back to health literacy, it's important to know, as Ms. Simmons said, not only know your body, but know what tests that you may need. If you don't know, don't be afraid to ask questions. And, there's always healthcare, regardless of whether you have, because one of our barriers to healthcare or lack of access to healthcare, because people may feel like, well, I don't have insurance, or I'm not working, or low social economical status. But there are FHQCs in your area, and I want to talk about that just briefly. That if you are having issues with seeking adequate health care, there is a health center tool that you can go to, fqhc.com, provides you with the list of healthcare facilities in your area. You just type in your zip code in the box, and it gives you these different facilities. And they work with individuals that either don't have income or may not have the finances to go to a doctor or don't have the insurance. They also take individuals that have commercial insurances. And I work at one of those types of agencies. And so if someone's out there listening, go and check out those agencies. Also, get a provider that you feel comfortable with, that you're able to ask questions to. And if
Right.
someone's in the Rocky Mount or Nash area or North Carolina area, if you're looking for a healthcare provider, you can contact us at oic1.org. We do offer primary care, dentistry, behavioral health. We also offer educational classes, whether you need help with GED or financial literacy, or if you're looking for other job skills. And our motto at OIC is helping others help themselves.
Themselves, okay.
Again,
Mhm.
thank you everyone for listening tonight. Remember, there is hope, regardless of what challenge that you may be dealing with. Again, hope is out there. You can overcome whatever you may be going through. Thank you, ladies, for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Yeah,
Thank
thanks
you,
so
Miss
much.
Emmons.
You're so welcome. Thank you all for inviting me, letting me be a part. Okay. All righty. Good night.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Good night.